Any second now, we will be on the internet.
Everybody behave.
No, certainly not.
Yeah, come on. Can't have that.
All right. Well, according to my screen, we are officially live. We are Earth's Mightiest Critics here for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier mission report, episode 3, week 3. This is kind of a new thing because in the previous episodes, I think they've doubled up at the beginning. So now we're right on track. We're all aligned. And this is a giant-sized episode because there are indeed 5 of us here tonight. I don't know if the internet can contain all this awesomeness. So let's.
We all cover one of the 10-minute pieces. That's it. That's all. I call the third one.
It takes 2 people to equal E-Man. So.
No,
that's true.
That's true.
That's very true.
E-Men.
Oh wow. Yeah, well, if E-Man is able to join us, I'll keep my eye out here in the waiting room. But yeah, we certainly have a full house, as I mentioned, much like the actual Avengers, or for Mark's sake, the Justice League. We do have an ever evolving, changing roster. So this is cool. So let's go around and see who we have with us here tonight. I already mentioned him, Mark the Movie Man Krawcheck of the Spoiler Room. Welcome. We've got David Fowley of Keeping It Real, Don Shanahan of 25 Years Later, Every Movie Has a Lesson, and the Cinephile Hissy Fit podcast, which the new episode, I saw the tweet, it went up like an hour and a half ago, so I only got like 15 minutes in.
You're not missing anything.
Well, I'm going to finish it because it's a movie I have not seen. I have not seen Coming to America yet, but I am enjoying the hell out of your debate with Will.
Right.
By the way, I haven't not seen the film. I side with you.
We're gonna win that Twitter poll, damn it!
Strictly for argumentative style. And then we have Mike Crowley, our special guest from YPA Reviews. You'll probably agree, joining us from his fancy schmancy new computer. I think that's the one you're on.
One of my 2 new computers.
Oh my God! Wow, you are
Yeah.
stimulating the economy with that check, sir. Congratulations.
I'm glad it didn't go somewhere else. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So welcome. Since you are our guest, well, before I get to that, we are talking about episode 3 of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So if you have not watched it, the episode landed on Disney Plus early this morning. We've all seen it. If you have not seen it, please pause this, come back to it tomorrow after the live stream is up, because we are going to be talking spoilers in a bit. Right now, we're going to give our high-level thoughts and a synopsis of the episode, which is called Power Broker. And we have Sajiwa here in the chat, which is perfect. He's saying back for a bit, so he's going to hang out with us for a little while, as he does every week. Thank you, Sajiwa.
Yeah.
And if you are watching this live, please feel free to drop into the chat. Let us know what you thought of the episode. If you have any theories or comments or questions for us to tackle, we will certainly do that. But without further ado, Mike, I'm going to put you on the spot as our guest.
All right. Yeah, go for it.
The summation of episode 3, Power Broker.
The summation, bad guy, evil scientist, wants to inject the world with Marvel's COVID. Or actually, no, it's like if COVID turned you into a super soldier, really. I couldn't help but get COVID out of my head when I saw the opening commercial. And I'm like, dude, this is exactly like a During These Difficult Times commercial. Anyways, I think this was made pre-COVID, but I mean, we could tell there were nightclubs. So,
well, but that's the thing. It is a commercial that very much speaks to the times we live in. That could have been filmed. They could have honestly used stock footage, because aside from the actual name of the company, I don't think there's people walking around with those. Was it CRC Council or GRC badges or anything? So yeah,
they definitely could have Snyder cutted it and just like had things that weren't even there, But yeah, like, so basically, the name of the evil company was GRC. They take the superhero serum, or what is the actual term for it?
I think
Super Soldier Serum. Super Soldier Serum. Yeah, Super Soldier Serum. They take that, you find out that the people who were trying to basically drug traffic it the last week, now they're doing it on a more massive scale, and a lot of that is led by the guy who created the Winter Soldier, the evil Bucky, and they brought Dr. Russian guy back there, and I don't know his name. This is how much research I do on the... I'm kidding. I actually have IMDb on the side, so I should check what his name is. But anyways, those two meet up. And then a bunch of people get in a fight. You find out that, the Wyatt Russell version of Captain America is basically a bigger douchebag than we even remember from the first place, where he throws in the "do you know who I am" sort of thing. Although if someone spat on me pre-COVID, I definitely say take it back a notch. But definitely like during COVID, I'm like, I would react exactly the same way if that happened to me. And then I think by the end of the episode, there's another big reveal. I won't give it away, but
that's about as high level. That's the 30,000-foot synopsis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bad guy wants to do stuff. There's fighting. Guy gets spit on, and big reveal at the end. So congratulations.
Yeah, I try to dumb it down as much as possible because I like Marvel movies, but I'm not like obsessed. So I'm just like, oh, who's that? Yeah, bad scientist guy. And especially now, there's so many things in this episode you could just tie to COVID, which I honestly wasn't consciously thinking of until I started talking about this episode. I'm like, oh yeah, did they just ride that train or something? And just go, the audience will relate to it, and critics will say, look how relevant we are. But I don't know.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying now, but like watching the episode, I didn't have any of that in mind. I think partially because I've been able to compartmentalize that this stuff was all, as you pointed out, done. It was made to be released a lot earlier than it is now. It was supposed to come out last year. It'll be interesting to see what the COVID generation Marvel movies are, going forward, like what they're going to do. Now they're going to be making movies during this time and after this time, for sure. Sejua has a great question. Falcon and Winter Soldier versus Godzilla and King Kong. Who will win? We're not going to tackle that.
Streams here, like
as a movie.
As a movie,
Ooh.
Well, it's everybody
like
wins.
An 8-hour film.
I'll take, as usual. I'll take the nuclear powered lizard. I'm sorry.
It's always going to be a tie because you'll piss off the fan base no matter who's going to win. I just do it beginners like, oh, it's just going to be like Freddy versus Jason, where you think Freddy wins in the end. He's just carrying Jason. I'm sorry, Jason's walking. He carries Freddy's head, and then Freddy winks at the end.
Yeah. Again, spoilers. No. All right. So let's.
How old is the movie? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's old.
It is.
Is it 16 this year? Is that true?
No,
it's even older. I think 2003, 2005, something like that.
Thank you.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
It makes me feel old. Thank you.
Let's talk about. There's a lot going on in this episode, so I think we should probably just jump right into spoilers. Okay. Well, I guess we'll just go quickly around. What do people think of episode 3? Is this ramping up? Is this where we want to be in the middle of a season? Or is it, I would hesitate to even suggest calling it filler, but I want to leave that open for anyone who's like, it didn't do much for me.
Mark, there's one.
All right.
Oh, who's gonna go? All right,
go.
I'll go. I was kind of surprised, I guess. It was a very Zemo heavy episode, which I guess you would expect considering how last episode ended. And I knew, Sharon Carter was going to show up. I think, as far as propelling everything, it did, but it did kind of feel like a one-off in a way.
Okay.
It still had all the players, that we've been following, but for some reason, it just seemed like a bit of a diversion. Probably because of where we're at geographically. I was totally stoked to see the introduction of Madripoor. If anybody followed Wolverine's solo comic debut in the late 80s. Yeah, late 80s, early 90s. That's pretty much where his alias was based out of. He called himself Patch. He can he was kind of like in with the underworld, scum and villainy, all of that. So it was a place for him to go and just kind of maybe not be an X-Men and just kind of, be a scumbag or whatever, anti-hero, whatever he wanted to do. But he had a lot of connections there. So that was a place where you can get some deals done or get connections. And so that was cool. That even the way it looked and everything, it looked straight up like how it did in the comics. So that was cool. You know, I feel like it was, like I said, a very heavy Zemo and I would say Winter Soldier episode. You know, there was no wings on Sam at all this episode. That was interesting. I kind of tend to, you know, make a mental note of that during the melee in the crates and everything. You know, well, we're just going to be using guns and running and ducking and.
I don't know if he even had the pack on him at that point. He was
Nothing.
undercover, right?
Yeah,
No.
Yeah, he's undercover. So yeah, definitely with the introduction, with Zemo being put up in the front and the reintroduction of Sharon Carter and catching up with what she's been going through, it makes sense that it's just this quartet. But I think an average viewer who's expecting like a Marvel thing, probably be a little disappointed. I mean, there's action in it, but it's just like, I mean, if you've been following so far, you'll probably be satisfied as far as, you know, we're still learning more about these characters. So on a high level, I was somewhat scratching my head thinking, this would be good if we had 8 or 9 episodes, not 6 to deal with. You know, this is midway, folks. And at the end of this episode, we're halfway done. So it just seems like this would be a good episode if we had more to work with. But that's my take.
I'll be the counterpoint guy that says, if you're 3 out of 6, this is the ramp. This is a fine ramp for me. I mean, to release Zemo, to introduce Sharon, to go to a different place in Globe Hop, to Madripoor, and to get a little deeper into where we get some reveals of what the Super Soldier, the scope of that is. I had plenty, like this. I didn't feel like it was filler. I felt like it was the right kind of acceleration, and a change of enough of a change of scenery to make our characters do a little something different while still having their dynamics. Like forcing them to go undercover and fight their way out of something without their usual wings, without their usual support, without the usual bells and whistles they all have, was a nice little, diversion in that kind of way. And at 3 out of 6, that's the kind of ramping up that I was fine with. And by the time you have the extra players kind of revealing themselves where they are between, we didn't see the Power Broker yet. We have a episode called the Power Broker. I have a theory on that, but we'll see if I'm wrong. And then, we still get our Flagsmashers revealing some of their sympathies and more of that. And then, of course, the international, inclusion of another force that could be in play here at the very, 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 very end is enough ramping for me when you think of 3 out of 6. If this was 5 out of 6 and like there's that many loose ends you're going to try to rush and get done in 45 minutes next week, then I'd be like, okay, now we're stretching and we're just, dripping things along. But 3 out of 6, that's fine. I'm trying to compare this a lot to I don't know if you guys all watched on Amazon, the Jack Ryan series is the last. I think they've had 2 seasons with John Krasinski the last couple of years, and those are like same thing, like about an hour long and 9 episodes. And you get to 3 out of 4, and you're still just kind of feeling things out. There's enough reveals here and there that heighten what you got going, but no big hammer drops, and that was fine enough for me. But I know Mark feels otherwise.
Honestly, you could do it. You could do a lot more. You could do a lot more than you can 6. That's like
True, but I'm curious. Like, watch 4, 5, and 6 redeem it, and we're like, oh, that was no problem with 3. It did it right.
Maybe.
Like, I have patience. I have patience. That's all.
So, Mark, let's go back to the descents on here. The descents into madness.
Sure. Single me out. No, that's fine. I'm fine. It felt a little more filler only because for most of this episode, we just got confirmation what we already had kind of confirmation from in a previous episode. I mean, okay, Power Broker, we know is involved. We kind of knew that before. We get a little bit more detail on it, but our gray area rebels, who are they doing good? Aren't they? We know at least one of them where they actually are now. I had this debate and I couldn't spin her out of what she did in this episode at all. I was like, yeah, you're right. Okay, you got me, son, because we had our debate. But in this one, there are tidbits. It was great seeing Sharon. I like what they did with her character quite a bit. And now that hearing Don talk, I think I have a theory too about why the episode was named the way it was. But anyway, there wasn't, I mean, Falcon was kind of on the sideline in this, which was a little disappointing. It was Zemo heavy, which was great, but a lot of the tidbits for me as an average viewer who's not really heavy into Marvel were just things that we kind of already covered, and it was just already confirming what we've kind of confirmed in previous episodes. So for me, I didn't get the whole reference for for the city outside of, I'm like, oh, so that's what happened to Tortuga later on. It became Omnivore, So for me, I enjoyed the environment. I did enjoy what they do for Zemo and Winter Soldier involved in that. I liked how that was directed. And for a while, it was feeling a bit like Lethal Weapon with Joe Pesci and the dynamic, between Winter Soldier and those three. A little bit, not as comical, but overall for me, this mostly just confirmed what we already kind of have established, that, U.S. agent, aka New Cap, is a douche, which we just confirmed in here. I mean, Super Soldier, power brokers involved. We confirmed that, and the scope. Yeah, we get. You said we're a little bit in spoiler territory, right? We're still high level.
We're still high level. We'll go there in a minute.
Okay. Well, what was alluded to in a previous episode when they visited someone is just confirmed in this one. So we were like, okay, yeah, we kind of already knew that. So I guess just for me as an average viewer, it felt a little more like filler, because I was like, with just 6 episodes, what I'm looking for, I'm like, we knew this. We've confirmed this now twice, and give me something that moves things a little bit closer to where you want to go. I mean, but that was just me. It's not bad. I still enjoyed the episode. Don't get me wrong. I did enjoy it, but for me, I didn't get a lot of the references. So I think that's what was a little lost with me on it. So that's why it felt a little bit more like just okay.
Before we go on, I just need to switch out the chair I'm sitting in, because I don't know if anyone can notice I'm sinking.
Did
you are sinking. I was wondering about that.
He's shrinking to my height.
No, I'm sitting on one of those exercise balls, because I sit on those for like posture. But I realized that over the last couple of months, this thing has begun to deflate. So I'm going to switch to the rolling office chair that I have just off to the side. So don't mind me.
Okay, it's the weight of those 200 subscribers you built up this week.
Nice. So now I guess
that unboxing was the best.
By the way, it is.
There's the official button.
Work it into the show. There it is. Hey.
He said he was going to hang it behind him. I feel so jealous.
I did hang it behind me, but I had to take it down.
What is
it was
that
so
made
heavy.
of? I'm just curious. What is that made of?
It's made of the finest quality ingredients YouTube has.
It's notebook paper
for 200 subs
with authentic fringe.
I like how the fringe
and a Huggies box, Pampers box. Sorry, gotta get my brands right.
Man,
don't lose
YouTube's really, you're giving out the big money, man.
Okay. So now I feel much better. I can actually fully concentrate. So Mike, we'll kind of round it out with high level thoughts from you, and then we'll jump into spoilers, because I've got my high level thoughts kind of involve spoilers.
Okay, so like this basically, like, I didn't know how I thought of this episode, because I felt like I was kind of like watching the same thing again in a way. Like, I didn't know if it was fillery or if I was gonna complain about being fillery again, if it was in my own head, especially with me and the Mandalorian stuff, But I can't say that it felt entirely fillerish. What I can say is that I feel like there are certain story beats that certainly are going to connect to later events. But it's one of those things where, because it's like Iron Man 2, we know this is connecting to the Avengers, but it's just kind of boring to watch it. And that's a little bit of how I felt a lot of this episode. Like, okay, they're fighting in the bar, they're going to the nightclub. Oh, now they're in another nightclub. And, they're going to go and, have like the speech from the evil bad scientist guy. okay, now we're going. It's like you can see beat for beat where it's going. And here's the thing between this and WandaVision. WandaVision is so radically different and unique that although I was kind of bored with the finale because it just turned into people like shooting lasers at each other, I enjoyed the journey getting there because it was so crazy. And when people complained about that show being filler, I was like, yeah, but it's insane and different, and I like that. And like, but here I'm just like, okay, I feel like I'm watching sort of the more boring act in an Avengers movie, and if the plot is going in a very predictable direction that it is, I don't feel like I'm gonna be like that blown away by the end of all of it. It's like we know that like my theory is that douchey Captain America probably has something to do with the people who are trafficking the superhero, serum. And either they're the overall big, brilliant bad guys, or he is. And there's like a, plan beyond that. Like, it just seems like that's kind of like, obviously, as like just a writer who knows nothing about Marvel, where you would probably go with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't think that's, I disagree. We're
can't
going to go into spoilers.
Here it comes. You started.
I like that. All right.
The new Cap, Johnny Walker Red, he's becoming more of a problem for me because of how we were introduced to him. Really introduced to him in episode 2. I mentioned this last episode where, he's got that punchable face, as E-Man likes to say, and he's exhibiting more signs of him being a nemesis to Falcon and Bucky. But his introduction was, humble. He was, painted as an actual genuine patriot who was very good at his job. Now, I can see creatively going in a direction where he's just rebuffed at every turn by the actual Avengers and the Winter Soldier, and that kind of turns him sour. But it feels like including that scene of that initial scene of humility was a mistake, like something that they forgot to cut out of the show because it's not going to be how his character plays out, because he's just being a jerk. Now, what I thought was interesting in this episode, when the guy spits on his face because he doesn't recognize him as Captain America, what I thought was very telling was the predictable move is he beats the crap out of him, he kills him, he throws the shield at his head. But we don't see any of that. And there's no indication that happens. The rest of the feds just come in and arrest everybody in that facility. So you're kind of playing around, I think, with our expectations of what this guy is. Maybe he is just really insecure and trying to do his job, but he's got impossibly big shoes to fill. So I don't think he's the heel.
That's my vote. I don't think he's the heel either.
Right. Now, I think he's susceptible to being a pawn, certainly. And I think that's one of the really interesting things we find out in this episode with the scientist guy giving that scientist guy speech, as you mentioned. With a lot of the dialogue that happens in this episode, you're right. They take place within situations that we've seen before, but we do learn a lot. That scientist was recruited by the CIA. And then he was dropped, and then he got snapped. Then he got blipped, and then he comes back, and he's sort of like able to finish his work under the power broker because he's sort of like like an evil genius without a home. So
Dave, that beer looks disgusting the way you drink it, buddy. I'm just saying. Are you okay over there?
Yeah, it looks like a guy who hasn't had like a beer in a really long time.
That one looked like it hurt, buddy. Are you okay?
That's like me when I was 15 having a beer.
Yeah. All right, sorry, Ian, my bad. I'm just making sure David's okay with it.
I get it. So Saji was saying the new Cap might be Hydra. He looks a bit like Red Skull in his mask.
I think all of that is red herrings. I don't think he'll be the heel whatsoever. He'll be just that confrontational locker room rival kind of thing. Best you're gonna get.
Like what, Maverick and Iceman? Is that?
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna end up being. Oh, Falcon's gonna be his wingman. No.
Watch Johnny Walker be the sacrificial guy that saves the day and passes the shield to the rightful guy.
I mean,
I think that's also somewhere where it could go, and I think that would be awesome. That would be great if it goes to it.
It's a great comment.
It's either that or
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, sorry, Dave. I did your feed dial delayed there. Go ahead. No, you first, please.
Right. I was just gonna say it'd be great if the Johnny Walker character sticks around after episode 6. I imagine, the shield's got to go in either, Bucky or Sam's hands.
They have action figures to sell. You're right.
Hopefully, Sam. But I think you're right. I mean, I don't think John Walker is a guy who wants to realize he's not going to feel good when he realizes that he's been, duped. He's in over his head. And maybe this kind of leash, government leash that he has been on, that he has this, it's almost like a security to him. Maybe he's going to realize that leash is just a bit too tight for what he's reaching for.
I like that.
And he's not going to like the scrutiny that the government has. He likes feeling needed. I think he likes feeling like I'm the man for this job. I've been chosen. I've worked hard. But he also wants everybody that he meets to be on board with that. And Steve Rogers was the exact opposite. He was a show, don't tell. I will prove myself by my actions, not by forcibly. Not by my words or forcibly force myself on anybody. I did get a kick out of that line that he said, don't you know who I am? And the guy he was threatening was so nonplussed. I was wanting him to say, well, I know who you think you are. And I kind of wish that there was a little bit more time to have some back and forth between this new Cap and Battlestar, because it seems like this Lamar Hoskins guy is a little bit of a maybe a Jiminy Cricket to him, a voice of conscience. You want to think he would be voice of reason. Say, hey man, you got to dial down here. What are you doing? Because he's not as gung ho as this new Cap is. So. I just feel like there's a lot more to delve into here with these two and his take on the role. I just don't know if there's going to be enough time. I do feel like inevitably, I don't feel like he's going to be painted as this bad guy. I just don't, and especially because of like what he said with the way he was introduced in episode 2 and his origin story and everything. He is a human character, and they've showed his humanity, but he's not right temperamentally for the job.
Okay.
Well, and that's an interesting thing, because as far as what we've seen from Captain America, it's Steve Rogers has that reputation from being around for decades, but even he had to grow into that role. He was not perfect right out of the gate. And I think what we're seeing is, let's just assume Johnny Walker stays as a good guy. 30 years from now, he could be telling one of the new Avengers, I remember back in my first days, it was a rough couple of weeks. Falcon and Winter Soldier didn't respect me. The bad guys didn't respect me. They're spitting in my face, but I had to stick to it. And I, fought for freedom and all that other good stuff. It made me the man I am today. What I'm wondering, though, is the insecurities that he is dealing with right now. A couple of things sprang to mind. And I know this is not canon in the comics, or at least I assume it's not. But what if New Cap is misdirection, and we should be paying attention to Lamar as the heel, the one who's softening up and grooming him and sticking by his side to make room for, say, a Sinister Force, not necessarily the power broker, but if you look at Zemo, that's a guy who became an international terrorist, once America essentially took away his family. Could he find the symbol of America and so thoroughly corrupt it as to say, these guys don't respect you, you're being used as a pawn, I have a vision for the future that I can really sell to you, and come be by my side. Now, I love that this is a Baron Zemo. Ooh. Well, I don't. Has that been announced for the 2024 slate? But and geez, was it William Hurt? Is he still going to be around? But actually, I want to rewind now that we're in spoilers. did anybody pick up on that Madripoor thing that David was talking about with Wolverine? Were there any X clues in any of that? No, like weird 3 slash marks on the bar or something. Okay.
I was looking for something, maybe even something that said patch or something, but maybe I'll have to on the second viewing. Maybe I'll have to, and not even any like supporting characters from the Wolverine comic. I was kind of surprised. It's like that would be pretty ballsy, because so many people, so many fans and viewers had wanted to see like a mention of Reed Richards in WandaVision or whatever, but it's like so far they haven't done any of those Fox characters, so we'll see.
What they're going to do is, I'll bet they put Madripoor in here for a reason. Like in the next 3 movies down the road, once we've got the Fantastic Four and the X-Men running around, they're going to pull another Endgame where they have to travel back in time, and they're going to go, they're going to revisit Madripoor and find out Wolverine was in the crowd the whole time.
Right.
But no,
Mark, where were you going earlier before David started?
Yeah, I didn't mean to step on David at all because
right.
You made great points. For me, there's a couple different ways they could take the new Cap. I think personally, I think he's blank as a fart and totally oblivious to anything except trying to be Cap. This guy wants to be Cap. I don't think he personally has any plan or nefarious thing. He's just trying to do the job, though he's not quite suited mentally for it. Battlestar in this episode, and even kind of alluded to when he was first going to go on stage at Good Morning America. He came up and said, okay, it's your turn to convince him. But I think Battlestar is looking at this guy as an opportunity, maybe not necessarily nefarious, but get his own thing, get his foot in the door, and be with him and either make him look bad by manipulating him and step in and say, hey, look, I could do this better. Or he's just letting this guy be kind of the distraction, and he gets to play the good guy in these situations. It's really hard to gauge Battlestar, and that's why I like these two in that dynamic, especially with the face spinning scene. But what I think is what I'd like to see them maybe go is the fact that one, in which we talked about earlier, new Cap doesn't know he's a super soldier. And he was given serum either as an experiment or whatnot and doesn't know, because he's hold his own with the super soldiers on that truck fight more so than the others, and he doesn't know his full potential, but we've seen him use that shield like Cap. We saw him train like Cap. And I understand he might have advanced genetics, but they've already alluded to the fact that they've taken blood from Isaiah. They did experiments. We got confirmation in this guy that he was furthering this. CIA has the serum. So they see no Cap. They've got this guy. They boost him up or have been grooming him. And, he doesn't realize. So what I'd like to almost see is he finds out that he was made a super soldier and he's not great on his own. So possibly that makes him give up the shield, thinking, either they screwed him over, so screw you guys, and just go do his own thing. Or, something happens that the government takes the shield away from him necessary. Like he gets blamed for going rogue and not following the script because he's supposed to be the step in line version of Captain America. And now that he's not, they could take the shield away, but he's still good as soldier. He's still good enough soldier. And they've put enough super serum or whatever time into him that they still keep him as U.S. agent, as on the payroll. He just isn't Cap anymore. So, I mean, there is some interesting things with him that I hope we get to explore, because those two characters really I found fascinating. And I thought they could go a lot of different directions with those characters, more so than our main core guys, which, I kind of liked Zemo. I have to admit, I liked Zemo. Zemo in this was like, I'm kind of digging his character, and Sharon, I like the heel. So it's like, our two title characters, I was like, whatever in this episode. But some of the people around him, I want to see more of those.
That's how I feel overall about like this show. And also I am sold on everyone's theory about, I think that would be how the reason Disney has been successfully doing this for years is because although they do a great job world building, at the end of the day, they know how to write a good movie. And with these characters, especially showing how this new Captain America comes in, I think he has good intentions. And I think as an audience, immediately, like, we kind of are judging this guy more than we normally would judge a character, because just like the moment we saw him in that first episode and it's Captain America and his chin doesn't quite fit in the mask and neither does his nose, and he just kind of looks like an idiot in the thing, we think, oh, we're going to hate this guy. Of course, the next episode comes in, we get to know him, we sympathize with him. And now we're kind of going back to like, oh, yeah, this guy isn't fit for the job. Like Captain America would never say, do you know who I am? But again, in the end, I think he's going to be probably like a brilliantly written character that we're going to sympathize with. I feel like they kind of just ran out of material for right now, but I think they're smart at Disney. They'll know what they're doing. They'll pull it off probably, I think. But it's like, there just doesn't seem to be like a lot of like, there's still more meat on the bones with Bucky, with the formerly known as the Winter Soldier, because let's face it, when you write characters who are a little crazy, they're more fun to follow. Yeah. Where you have someone like Sam, who's just like a normal guy, like, oh boy, I can't make enough money to pay for my boat. Boo-hoo! I don't want to be, Captain America. It's like, okay. He's just such a normal guy. He's boring to watch as a character. There's nothing that really makes me want to engage him. Like Captain America, he was kind of boring, but he was so like gung-ho, go America, but not like over the top eye rolling about it. You kind of were interested in him, especially in the second movie where, he recruited Bucky, and that kind of ruined everything for everyone because he can't let go of things. That made him three-dimensional. I want to see a little more I need a character flaw. I really need a character flaw for Sam, and I just don't see any other than he's reluctant to take the shield.
Well, I think that's a big enough flaw.
I think so too.
I think what I get what you're saying, Mike, but I think that Steve Rogers was kind of the whole point of his character was he was a very boring dude from the 1940s.
Yeah.
If we had had
that was like the whole point of his character. Yeah.
Right, but that's the thing is I think that's what we're seeing now reflected back in Sam Wilson. If we had a Captain America and Bucky show set in the 1940s before the Super Soldier program, it would have been Bucky cruising around getting the girls and just Steve being the wet blanket, like, oh, I just really love my country. Why don't they let me into the army? I just I'll go help this lady cross the street. Yeah. We get that. We're getting that kind of goody two shoes thing with Sam. He's kind of been the second fiddle to the Avengers. He's got problems with his sister and dealing with racism in America and all that, all of that stuff that isn't very sexy necessarily, but I think it is relatable. And I think what we're going to see in this series is him coming into his own and realizing, I don't think he feels very superheroic as a person. I think we're starting to see the seeds of that in this episode where he's like, you know what, damn it, I shouldn't have given up that shield. Someone needs to take this mantle, and it's none of these clowns.
And even in the action scenes when obviously Bucky, who's super powered and Sam's not, completely shows him up in every strategic sense of the word at every turn of moments where and I think that's, for me, that's flaw enough, in Sam, that he just isn't super powered enough to hang despite where his heart is. And I think that's enough to have that be on Sam, and then you throw all the POC stuff that can be there with it. To me, that's plenty for Sam. Give him any more than that, and it feels angsty and dumb.
That in and of itself could be an insecurity that isn't really developed yet. Probably another reason why he didn't pick up the shield is, even though at the end of Endgame, Steve said, "You're a good man, Sam." Sure, that's Steve Rogers saying that, but the same believe it. Well,
and there's also the question. Well, it's also the question that it was sort of not a throwaway line, but I don't think it was meant to have the same weight that it does, really. But in the therapy scene in the previous episode, where Bucky said, maybe Steve was wrong about you, and if he was wrong about you, maybe he was wrong about me. They've beatified Steve Rogers as Captain America to be the guy who makes all the right decisions and has the best judgment. Maybe he doesn't. Have we thought about the possibility that maybe Sam isn't right to take up this mantle, at least not yet?
I was thinking that would be the heroic thing to do, is don't give the shield to either of the two main characters. Give it to someone who really deserves it. It doesn't have to be this guy that we're judging right now is unfit for the job. No.
Yeah.
And honestly, like when I saw him and when I saw the side of I'm like, you know what? This guy is maybe like in an alternate universe. I could see him as Captain America. But
it's going to be Sharon Carter, you guys.
Yeah. No plot line I didn't care about. I didn't care about that one, honestly, in that story. She was like, I'm sad. I can't see my family. Why? And I didn't understand.
That's the thing that was frustrating is because I asked this question in the previous episode, and I think David and Don, you set me right, because they keep referencing this mission, this thing that went wrong with the shield, and then they all had to go on the run. That wasn't from the movies. That was just something an adventure that they're referring to, right?
It was between Winter Soldier and Infinity War, right, David?
War.
Where everything that went into Civil War.
Yeah,
all the fallout of Cap going his own way and going against the government rules of the Sokovia Accords and all that, and having all those characters like get out and go rogue. It sounds like Sharon was the one that got him out of that seaside goulash prison that they were in and had all their stuff and gear. And then it's the 2 years later we see them in Infinity War coming back to save Tony's butt in time for Thanos. And it seems like Sharon was integral in getting them out of that.
Well, she did give him the armor. I mean, there was the scene where she did give him the armor during Civil War, which is what she references in here, and that's what I think that's what they're referring to, and that's what hurt her, and that's why she hasn't gone back yet, is because of that. And she obviously then didn't get snapped.
No, she's been at this for what, 7 years?
Yeah, she's been on the run since Civil War after she gave up. She stole the equipment back for Cap and for which is the shield incident they're talking about. She got his equipment back and Falcon's wings and that.
Yeah.
So that's what got her in trouble. So she's been doing this for 7 years
which is why she's the power broker.
Yes, she's the power broker. I am with you, Don. I am with you.
Or if she's not, she's a very high lieutenant, because when she gets that cell phone call and gets back in the car with the whole "we have a problem," I'm like, oh, you're on to something bigger.
She could,
she's been there for 7 years, so if she's not the power broker, she's a major player. She's on the high side where there's no friends that
knows
Zemo
where to be to save those boys' butts.
Has that expensive art collection. That's an interesting theory. I hope that that's not the case, because kind of like what Mike's been saying, it's a bit too obvious. And I think one of the things they did with WandaVision that had the entire internet spinning around in theories for 3 months is people like, oh, it's got to be this, or it's got to be Mephisto, or this is what this means. I think it might just, I'm hoping it's just another red herring, because I like Sharon Carter. I liked her being kind of bummed out and depressed in this episode, mostly because it's a contrast to what what little we've seen of her, what we kind of know of her. It's like, if the world has done this to this character, then things are in really bad shape. I want to get back to Zemo, though. I loved him in this episode. I thought Daniel Brühl was amazing, but my main problem was with Bucky, and I have a theory about this. Bucky could not have been. He goes into that garage and he kind of lays out this hypothetical with Sam, like, hey, what if I were to go into this Ultramax prison and break out Zemo using all these different tricks and stuff? And we kind of see that happen in parallel. I get that it's a Supermax German prison where all these people are, the scum of the earth or whatever, but there's still security guards and innocent people getting their brains beaten in during this riot under which they escape. I'm like, that's like a cold move, even for Bucky, who's allegedly trying to be a hero and turn his life around. That's some collateral damage that I don't know if the fate of the world is in their hands. But I feel like if that's the route they're going to go, Sam's absolutely right. They need to find a different way. And it just doesn't seem like it's within Bucky's character or Buffy. So here's my theory. He goes to visit Zemo, and the first thing Zemo does is he rattles off 3 of those code words from the Winter Soldier. And Bucky's like, those don't work on me anymore. Your Jedi mind tricks don't work. What I'm wondering is if those 3 words were like deep implants from the program. So be like, if Winter Soldier is ever captured and deprogrammed, we say these 3 words to reactivate his program. It goes that deep.
I agree.
So perhaps he's maybe not totally reactivated, but maybe there's just a little bit of that puppetry going on.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll
to
be
Spring
season
Zemo.
2.
A little backup password. Yep.
Well, I mean,
I'm down
because
for that.
well, and I think you might be onto some because they do allude that he falls back into Winter Soldier mode pretty quick when they're in the bar, even for
What happened to rule number 2? Don't kill people.
Right, and they drop in real quick, though he doesn't intentionally kill anyone as they're trying to escape the container maze, so he is trying to be good there. If you notice who he fights, he doesn't kill anyone very directly. All their injuries they're gonna die from, but he doesn't actually kill. They're gonna die from injuries from fighting him. But
tomato.
No, I'd say he was more Winter Soldier in the bar though versus the fight leaving the containers.
Yeah.
So it could very well be Zemo had other plan because they do show Zemo opening the book when he's talking to him and he removes something from the book that has words on it. So it might not be these 3 words. There might be 3 other words we haven't heard yet.
That's the thing. It's got to be more than whatever 7 words it used to be. Like,
right.
There's more. You don't train that long and not have 6 programs.
I mean, they brought him back how many times to kill people? So
and they do make reference to the fact that he was asleep for more than he was awake during his incarceration under Hydra. So they could have been tinkering around with all sorts of mind control stuff during those decades.
I mean, Bucky's just a bomb waiting to explode. I mean, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and I think that's fascinating. That's I thought the stuff with the scientists was really cool. I thought the Zemo stuff was really cool. I just thought there was a lot of richness going on in this episode, even though it's like, okay, there's another Batman Begins-esque scene in a shipping yard with guys with guns, but then we also see Sharon Carter showing up and kicking a lot of great ass. And what I loved about this is it's a trope of like the 5 foot tall little 100-pound girl like taking out all these trained hitmen, but she also got her ass handed to her, and she was getting as good as she gave. So there was some real struggle there and some real drama. I think it'd be kind of a cool move to make her the power broker now that I think about it, but it's a bit, I think there'd have to be another twist on top of that, another layer to that onion to really make it special.
To go, guys. 3 more.
And that's to say, I don't know if this is going to be a limited thing like they're talking WandaVision would be, or if there's going to be a season 2. Is this going to be an ongoing series?
I mean, if we're like, some of us have already said here in this roundtable, like if the scope of this show puts the shield in Sam's hands, but obviously it hasn't happened 3 episodes in. It probably isn't going to happen for 3 more. But if it gets it in his hands at the end and we do the whole Not My Captain America season 2, sure. Like if it took this struggle to get him there, and then his next struggle is him being who he is as Captain America, that season 2 writes itself.
Here's another scenario. We've talked about the ramifications of the first Black Captain America. We've had our first Black Super Soldier with Isaiah, but there's been some consternation, certainly on the internet, not necessarily within the reality of this world, but they've kind of danced around it. Like, would America accept a Black Cap? Going back to our Johnny Walker and Lamar situation, what if Lamar, the shield is taken away from Johnny Walker and given to Lamar as the first Black Captain America as the season 2 finale? And you've got Sam I really shouldn't have given this up.
Right. Are you serious? Are you serious right now?
Then he would just go into depression.
And then he can join Sharon Carter as Power Broker too.
He'll just get drunk and pass out on his boat. And that'll just be the episode.
If Bucky does blow up, they got to give the arm to Rocket, though. He really deserves that.
That'd be great.
Give me that arm. Yeah.
I like the idea of Sharon being Power Broker, but I'd be curious to see if they go that way. I mean, at this point, we don't really know what her motivations would be for being Power Broker. Is it just because that she feels like her life's been taken away the past 5-7 years and she wants to get back somehow? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Power Broker is, well, at least in the comics, I mean, he was the one who was kind of dealing out all the Super Soldier Serums in a way, or at least they trained it, and making people super strong.
You're breaking up, David, a bit.
Am I breaking up?
Yeah, you're a little choppy.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
It could be this area here. I guess I don't know much about. We haven't really been given much on Sharon yet, so I don't know. I like the idea of her being power broker, but I'm not sure. I mean, it would be an easy thing to latch onto because the episode is called The Power Broker. So, yeah.
Well, the power broker, in reference, in this episode, it's not called the power broker. It's just called power broker. They could have been referring to Zemo, who was using all of this. He was very manipulative in all of the situations. What I loved was the scene with Selby, who was the person who was power broker's number 2. Apparently, this lady who was at the top of the club that the gang was all trying to work their way up to see. She's taken out almost immediately following this wonderful scene of Sarah calling Sam on his phone at the most inopportune time, and she's like, answer it and put it on speaker, and he almost gets away with it until she calls him Sam, and then just at that exact moment she gets the bullet through the chest. Everything kind of goes south. I thought that was some really nice
bullet.
Because it wasn't well, I don't know if it was Sharon.
It wasn't what's her name, Ao, from Wakanda. From Wakanda?
That could be too.
It could be.
We don't know.
She wouldn't use a gun, though.
That's what I mean.
Or it could be Sharon's.
Sharon's been known to snipe a few things in her life.
Sharon's assistant.
Or the lady who was waiting for her at the car. It could have been one of her, because if Sharon's high enough on the chain, she's got minions. It could easily be someone. A distraction, because if that'd be a good way to throw it off, is if someone else kills Selby, Sharon shows up to rescue the boys, they immediately think, she's good. She's just been hiding out because she's been trying to survive. We get that because, Captain America grew a huge beard while on the run. So anything is possible, maybe she did it to throw him off. I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways they could go with the Sharon character, and I'm interested to see where they go. I hope it's not something very, I hope it's something interesting, because I think there's a lot of meat and potential there that you could do that would spin it on its head, not just for fans, but especially for the characters, because she was the goody two shoes granddaughter of the iconic, pay. It's like, oh my God, she's a descendant. Of course, she's going to be ultimate good, counterpart to Captain America, and then to have her go rogue and have the heel turn would be huge, because it shows even more of the impact of the events of Civil War, as well as just the impact of the events after the snap, between Snap and Blip in general, which is what they've kind of alluded to both in WandaVision and in this one, in that the world's really screwed up right now.
Now, if she turns out to be power broker, do we get a scene where either Bucky or an old Steve Rogers gets to have the moment where, like, your grandmother would be so disappointed, and then and then puts one right between her eyes?
Technically, it's great aunt, but that's okay. Yeah.
I don't. It's just it's all lineage.
It's just as if, like, I don't know, Todd Phillips directed the episode all of a sudden. There's nothing.
When Carly, right? Our
Carly,
Flagsmasher terrorist. When she blows up that GRC center, I did not rewind it because I was kind of horrified, but I swear I heard screams inside that building that was on fire. That was a horrible nightmare. That was a great, 2 minutes before, you've got this wonderful kind of a sympathetic character moment. You're finding out what her deal is. And you're like, to what Mark was saying, it's definitive now. She's not, she has a sympathetic backstory, but she is all in committed on just like destroying the world.
Yeah, I couldn't spin it. I tried to spin it with my conversation with my son, and he's just like, no, she's bad. And I'm like, and I'm like, no, you're right. Not her whole group, but her specifically. Yeah, she's a bad guy. She's
sad about her mom. Yeah, but she wants to destroy the world.
Yeah, for me, she's bad because.
Right. Well, but that's the other interesting thing is that to what Mark was saying, maybe not the entire group, the guy that she was talking to earlier when they were kind of monitoring that GRC center, and he was also, I think, driving the getaway car. He was in the car with her. He's horrified by what he's seen because like those were innocent people. There was no need to blow that place up. We got what we came for. And she's like, I can't remember what she said, but she was like,
it's the only language
damage.
No, it's the only thing that they understand.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, that's I couldn't understand. I just heard like what?
Yeah. I always watch it with subtitles. Yeah. And she said it's the only language those people understand, which we're starting to allude to just a little bit of IRA type of territory now.
True.
Yeah. Well,
and that's why I can't call her all bad. She's just really defending her cause. It's a cause that works for her and her people. I mean, they're taking some shortcuts to do it, but it's not complete total villainy. It's it's kicking the tires of it for sure.
I get what you're saying, but try explaining that to any of the people working in that relief center, like their families. She's like, you had 6 months worth of supplies in here. There's no reason for you to have that. I'm like, you don't know anything about how nonprofits or like NGOs work, do you? It's not like if it comes in, it all out to McDonald's. Yeah. So there's I love that there's so many new layers and little bits of information. I am curious to see how this plays out in the next 3 episodes. I'm not going to say I'm super confident, but I'm pretty confident that the show writers have a direction, they have a destination, and they're not going to let us down. Again, this was supposed to come out before WandaVision. If this was post WandaVision, I'd have full faith because I'm like, that show knew what it was doing. This one was kind of before it, so benefit of the doubt at least. Yeah. But I'll definitely be here for episode 4 for many more reasons than just watching the show.
Well, Marvel's like the New York Yankees. They have unlimited money and they're really good at what they do.
True. All right, I need some prognosticating help from the dais here. How does Wakanda come into play? I mean, I know why Wakanda's in play. Where do they go from here?
That's a good question.
That's it. I love that infusion of but I know why they want Zemo, but how will they get involved further?
It definitely complicates things a lot more. They can be a great resource to Sam and Bucky, but they're going to want something. I mean, they're going to want obviously where Zemo is being held didn't. So we'll take care of him. You give us Zemo, and we'll give you anything you need to track down that serum and stop this power broker.
Here's the rub, though. I mean, this takes place after Black Panther, when Wakanda has announced itself to the world and is in the process of setting up these embassies, these kind of goodwill outreach. Are they going to risk being seen as carrying out, like helping kind of rogue government agents, rogue Avengers in some kind of an extrajudicial assassination or recapturing mission? Because Zemo is still government property. I mean, it's Munich, but this is going to come back to America. It's going to.
It could be, but I think she and her elite team are so good at being stealthy that the world in and of itself won't need to know that they're involved. They'll just be helping Bucky out and Sam indirectly. But I don't think that this would be on the world platform in this news of their involvement. But I think that they've realized that, hey, not only Bucky and Sam are out doing this thing, but they've now involved Zemo, and now we got to get involved because of what happened to King T'Challa.
Well, I could see them taking. See, I was having this discussion too. I don't think she was there to kill Zemo, but with Zemo escaping, they could technically use it as, hey, we captured Zemo. We're taking him back to Wakanda because the crime was against a Wakandan, and we're going to put him on trial in Wakanda. And I think that is where they could go with it. It'd be very interesting. Then the international implications of, they're, you could get into some really interesting angles then with that of how people are handling Wakanda. First off, they're highly technological versus anyone else, and now they're just going about grabbing whoever they want, from their eyes, from the public eyes, if it goes public. So they could sneak them back to Wakanda. I don't think she's going to kill him, but I do think, Zemo's going back to Wakanda. If I see how this plays out, he's going to go back to Wakanda for his trial, which sets up some very interesting things.
Well, yeah, I mean, talking about going back to Civil War and what all these superpowered entities have to do, like what's their relationship to government. I'm kind of with Mark. I understand their reasoning for coming, wanting to sweep up Zemo and taking back home now that they realize he's out, but they don't have the jurisdiction to do that in any country outside of Wakanda.
They don't,
unless they keep it
Wakanda.
completely covert. And to David's point, they are a super secret elite team and all that. But, one of the rules of writing is you don't just have the characters just do and be the one thing and have it work out all the time. So I feel like they're going to make their debut on the world stage accidentally, and that's going to set some stuff off. Given the fact that, like, even if Zemo lives and let's just say he escapes, he's like one anonymous tip away from saying, hey, this new Wakandan government sent a team of super assassins and my minions have footage of them somehow doing this stuff that that could maybe blow up in season 3 or even Black Panther 2, which would be kind of interesting.
That would be interesting.
I don't know. There's so many places where this could go. I love that was the cliffhanger at the end because I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm like,
sure,
this just really, I hadn't even thought about the Wakanda angle, but it makes total sense now. Yeah. And I love that the writers are thinking this far ahead and this far back into the assassination of, and
of course and to use Bucky as the approach makes sense as the White Wolf and the guy who's put time there, total connection.
Yeah.
Going back to what Ian. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you good. Go ahead.
Going back to what Ian said, I would say, in looking at this episode, at least for me, the MVP is definitely Daniel Bull. I think
sorry, what?
The MVP of the episode is Daniel Bruhl.
Yes.
Zemo. I think the interaction, even on the on his private jet with his, I guess we'll call him Butler. I mean, even that stuff was fun. That even had kind of a Batman Begins vibe, but like when Michael Caine's Alfred picked up Bruce Wayne, his sojourn. It was funny because it's like, so you're rich? He's like, well, I'm a baron. Yeah, my family. And they even got the classic Zemo look of the frou-frou fur collar. They managed to get that in there and make it work.
Just enough.
Of course,
just enough.
And
well, that's
course,
the thing
they of course he put on the mask eventually, but that was just so much fun.
And that's the thing, like Zemo looks amazing in this episode. Like the mask works, the giant fur, kind of a hood thing works. It's not, it doesn't look ridiculous. It looks very utilitarian. Like he's going to go travel internationally. He's got to be prepared. So yeah, I agree. He's wonderful in this episode. I'm curious to see how far they're going to take this lethal weapon kind of dynamic that was referred to earlier. Versus there's going to come a time when he's going to turn on these, on his hosts, or he's going to turn one of them on everyone else.
And he kind of already did here, is he did kind of turn on them. Because at one point they were like, wait, where's Zemo? What happened? What's going on? And he kind of went off and did his own thing. And next thing you know, he's putting on his mask. And, but it is still doing it his way. And that's the only way it looked. That's the only way it looked like he was turning on them. He was still on board, but he was still like, "Hey, man, I'm going to do this my way because I know I'm eventually going to probably go back behind bars. But while I'm out, I might as well just do things my way and have some fun."
Yeah,
but that to me was the fun part, the best part of the episode.
Well, Zemo was also. You have that wonderful conversation where he drops that line about how it's amazing you put these American superheroes on a pedestal and you look past their flaws. And he's actually implying about Captain America because he had the conversation between Bucky and Sam and how, who's going to take the shield? Well, maybe I'll take the shield. Captain and Zemo's just like, you guys, you put these heroes on the pedestals, but they have flaws, almost implying to, I think, what one of the fine gentlemen here mentioned earlier, in that maybe Cap didn't choose correctly. He was making a mistake. He thought he was doing what's good, but in reality, no, that's really not the great way. But it's Captain America deciding, and he knows what's good. Right. So he made the decision, but was that really the right one? Or are you blinded because you put him on a pedestal? And Zemo's just little throw-off line like that. I love those moments with Zemo in here, because at one hand you think maybe he's manipulating him, but on the other hand, he's just like, you guys are blind to your heroes.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I think it could be. I think it very well could be both.
Yeah.
He's manipulating them, but he's also sharing his philosophy, and part of his manipulation could be to plant those seeds, as we've seen with the Winter Soldier program, all about planting these subliminal messages to get people to do what you want them to do ultimately, and to believe in it to a certain extent. We're kind of over time here, so I want to give Mike a chance to jump in. It looks like you got a couple of things to say to wrap this up.
One thing was, I really wish they focused more on Isaiah Bradley's character, but I'm sure that's coming back.
Yeah,
because I remember I saw that, I'm like, now that's why I like them. I'm like, oh, Disney's pandering, and I'm like, oh wait, there was no white guy wrote that, when I saw that. Like, there's no way a white dude wrote that, and if he did, he got some help. And then on top, but then they didn't continue with that. No big deal. But I gotta say, the thing I like about the show is I see it, and then I kind of go, yeah, it was all right. But then after I think about the episode, I'm like, that was actually that. Yeah, all right. I feel like I have to kind of absorb it before I even write my reviews these days. Because if I go in fresh, I'll just be like, and then I'll be like, why was I being such a jerk?
Well, and that's the mark of really good art, I think, is you absorb it on one level, and then it sits with you and makes an impact and resonates. So, and David dropped out. Oh well, hopefully he'll be back for the wrap up.
He was flipped.
Oh no! So I have to stay back here with all you fine folks. Hey, there he is. Now he's been blipped. Hey,
it's at the end.
Okay, so thank you guys all very much for joining us for the third episode, the halfway point. We've only got 3 more weeks left to go on Falcon and Winter Soldier. Who knows where this is going to end up? All I know is that we're going to be here talking about it, and we're going to continue this conversation. If you didn't join us for the live stream, you're catching this later on a replay. Leave some comments in the chat. What did you think of the episode? What are your theories? Are we way off base? Do you think we're on point? Do we get any no prizes for being right at the end of this season? And in the meantime, I want to thank my esteemed guests. We have David Fowley of Keeping It Real, or we did until he got snapped, and it was not me. My hands are up. We have Mike Crowley from YPA Reviews, Don Shanahan of Too Many Things to Mention. I'll leave a link to all your stuff in the description below. We have Mark the Movie Man Krawcheck from the Spoiler Room. Join us on Tuesday. By the way, Mark, I want to say we're doing your live stream Tuesday night.
Yes.
This came in the mail today.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, the Chuck Norris triple feature.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about the Missing in Action 1 as part of what are you calling this series, Mark? I'll let you say it. I don't want to steal your thunder.
The series is called Cannon Fodder. We're watching a Cannon film a month. The Cannon films were voted on by people who listened to the show or visited my website. This month is a little bit of variation just because both Missing in Action 1 and 2 got voted on, and they're both Canon films. So I just decided, you know what? I'm going to take producer power, and we'll just do all 3 Missing in Action films. And we're going to do a film where Chuck Norris fights a demon at the end called Hellbound. So it's I don't want to swear on your show, but it's just don't fuck with Chuck month is what it is. So that's what we're calling it. And we kick it off with Tuesday talking about Missing in Action. So
that's 9:30 p.m. Central on Mark Krawcheck's YouTube channel. There'll be a link to that as well. So join us there. Yeah, this is gonna be a first time watch all of these for me, so I'm very excited.
Oh man.
Oh, this is going to be exciting then for sure.
Yes. But anyway, guys, thank you again. David, we love you. We miss you. We hope you come back certainly next week. And yeah, we hope you guys all come back next week. Thank you very much. Take care. And I was going to say mission accomplished, but I feel like that's
wrong. No.
Halfway.
No.
It's only 3 episodes.
No.
Yeah,
the mission continues.
The mission.
Yeah.
The mission continues. I like that. The mission continues. This is
Thanos
not a goodbye.
just
This
comes
is a see you
back
later.
and re-snaps. Everyone says mission accomplished.
And he does it on an aircraft carrier, which is very strange. But
Yeah.
anyway, all right, thanks, guys. Take care. Have a great night. And we're going off broadcast. Yes, I want to end.